In the last video we talked about the muscular limitations that can affect the ankle. So we either have a joint restriction issue or a muscle limitation issue or a biomechanical issue. So the first video we talked about the muscular limitations of the soleus and the gastroc and how to fix those with stretches. And now we're going to talk about what can happen if the actual joint itself, the talus, which is the pivot of the foot, and the top of the tibia, which we call the crural joint, if it can't move back and forth this way, that can limit dorsiflexion, which can impact squatting, bending, pushing, pulling, all that good stuff. So if my ankle cannot come forward this way, and it's due to a joint issue, it's going to feel different than if it's a muscle issue. If it's a muscle issue, I'm going to feel the stretch in the muscle. If it's a joint issue, it's either just going to feel locked up, like it just won't go anymore. Sometimes it kind of feels like you're just running into a wall. It can also feel like a pinching sensation in the ankle. So we're going to go over how to take care of that with a joint mobilization. So if you were in Utah, this looks a little bit familiar. We're going to take a band, I have an iron woody band here, and I have it attached to something that's not going to move. I'm going to put my foot in the band so that the band is contacting the very bottom of my ankle, as close to the little ankle bone as possible, and not going down. Sometimes you see this on the internet where they're doing it backwards and they have the band going that way, which is not going to do what you want it to do. So I have the band around the very bottom of my tibia, my heel, my calcaneus, my talus, all those good parts of the foot itself are not moving, they're staying stationary to the ground. I'm going to slide my foot back, leaving it on the ground. And the farther I go back, the more tension there is on the band to slide my talus forward this direction in order to increase the amount of joint mobility, which will increase the amount of dorsiflexion, which will help any sort of motion that my knee has to travel further in front of my toe, like a squat or a bending motion. As this loosens up, I'm going to slide my ankle back even further, and I'll feel more of a stretch. If I want to accentuate that joint mobilization, I can even have my knee go forward, and I'll have more of a stretch. So this feels very different than a muscle stretch. A muscle stretch that I felt here, and I'll have that. Now it's on the joint. So I feel that either deep in my ankle, I feel it in the very back of my ankle where those ligaments are starting to stretch. That's where I mainly feel that. Come back a little bit further. Now if I really want to get into that, I will try to get as much dorsiflexion as I can, keeping my heel on the ground. I would probably hold this if I was using this with a patient, probably at least a minute or two, really to get that to loosen up. Because these are ligaments, they're kind of like leather. They don't really stretch very well. They're not like muscles that are nice and springy. It takes a good prolonged stretch in order to create enough deformation to get that to loosen up. So when I'm done with that, I just come out of that. And I would probably follow that up with the ankles, the calf stretches, the gastroc, and the soleus stretch, just because if we increase the mobility in the joint, we're going to increase the ankle range of motion, but now we'll have to stretch the calf into that new range because you've likely not been into that range before. So that's what we do if we have a joint limitation due to joint restriction. So the third thing is a limitation in ability to squat or bend or push due to a biomechanical issue. So we'll go over that next.